This week on Breakfast Talk, we talk about the most epic Titan battle of our age. We're talking about Godzilla vs. Kong, baby. Super excited. If you guys have been watching Breakfast Talk, you know this is what we're all about. This is our first discussion panel. This week on Breakfast Talk, Godzilla vs. Kong. Wakey, wakey, smell those eggs and bakey. It's time for Breakfast Talk, a podcast discussing current, independent, and mainstream entertainment topics, from gaming and movies to comics. Start your week off right with the Breakfast Boys. As always, if you can smell what we're cooking, click that like button, and if your tummies are rumbling for more, click subscribe and ring that Brecky bell to turn on all notifications. All right, let's talk.
Welcome to episode 9 of Breakfast Talk.
Breakfast Talk!
We're not gonna do 1,000 different things for the next couple episodes. We're gonna do single topics because we have shit to talk about.
Discussions.
Yeah. The first one that we're doing is Godzilla vs. King Kong, because they kept talking about it, and then I watched all of them, like Skull Island and all of that. So we're gonna talk about that.
Craig, like, he pulled out all the stops. You know, he could tell he cares about this podcast.
Yeah.
Or I don't have anything to do at work. So.
Shh, that's the stuff you don't tell people. I was giving you credit.
I mean, I really care.
This? This cup here? Oh yeah, that's new merchandise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Buttercat.
Yeah. Just Buttercat, you know.
Just sprinkle that in there.
Yeah, you know.
You can get that by going to the link below.
Oh yeah, you can.
It's like a cat, but with butter.
There's also stickers. Oh my god. There's also stickers with the exact same design.
And shirts.
Shirts. I have a shirt, but like I wasn't gonna wear it because I have to wash it still.
I have a shirt too.
I think I have a shirt. I'm not sure.
I don't have any clothes. This is my skin.
So you're naked right now? That's gross.
Give me all the bacon and eggs you have.
I'm uncomfortable now. All right, Godzilla. Woo!
Versus King Kong.
Versus the Kong. Okay, so I guess I'll start this off. So we had some theories initially about what was going to happen in this movie and Godzilla vs. Kong, and some of them came to fruition, and others were completely off. So to go over the things that were off, we didn't see any other Titan besides Mechagodzilla. I guess technically Ghidorah as well, because it's like kind of the same thing. By the way, spoiler alerts. We didn't say that at all. Like, if you're watching this is a spoiler episode. Like, if you haven't seen this movie yet, we're gonna spoil the hell out of it.
It's 180. Go watch another episode.
Like, it's milk that has been in the fridge for way too long. Like, that's what this episode is.
Go back to episode 8.
Yeah, go back. Research. Do your research, guys. No, so we didn't see any of the Titans that had already been established in the universe. We didn't see any of them in there besides, like I said, like the Mechagodzilla, Ghidorah, I guess, as one entity. And that's it. And then we saw some like snaky kind of Titans in like the Hollow Earth, but we didn't see, like, they weren't like the traditional, or again, the Titans that have been established already.
Oh wait, no, that was a different movie, wasn't it? So I watched all of them. So they're all together.
They're merging. Yeah, they're merging into your mind right now.
Mothra. Yeah.
That was in King of Monsters.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what we're talking about. We were saying, like, in King of Monsters, they kind of left this door open so that there's a whole bunch of these Titans, you know, kind of running around the earth right now. And legitimately, they just completely skipped over all the other Titans. There was no other Titans. It was just Kong. It was really Kong focused. And then Godzilla was just kind of pissed off the entire time. So, yeah.
It was actually kind of cool though that it did focus on them, because it was one of those ones where by like as Godzilla fans, we knew something else was happening, but it was the good way they built it out was, oh, it's Godzilla versus King Kong, let's focus on them. And then, you know, fucking the greatest design I could have possibly imagined for one of like the iconic like villains of the Godzilla universe. So it was just like it was so cool to see that. And it was funny because you were like partially correct about how they were going to be building it, where you were like, oh, it's going to be powered by Ghidorah because of all the electricity, but it was actually like
The psychic link. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like the psychic link that allowed them to control a Titan that they build, and it was kind of interesting to think about it because I forgot that that was the thing. Like the whole point was like that the heads were so big, and like the nervous system was so far apart that they couldn't actually communicate directly, so they had to do it telepathically. So it was very interesting, and something that I did for Funzy was going through all of the old Godzilla movies, like looking up all the titles and like when they came out and all that stuff. And it was interesting because um, I actually completely forgot. I don't remember if they're like if I'm blending some of these in my head from like just seeing them so long ago. But some of these Godzilla movies with the Ghidorah, one I believe one of them was an I think it said like there's people like humans that like landed back on Earth and were looking for help from Earth to fight off this Monster Zero, and Monster Zero happened to be Ghidorah, and he was like going, and it was like something that was like space bound, which was really interesting that this thing was coming back like that way, and the fact that they did the whole Hollow Earth thing with this was like super interesting. Like it was definitely a very cool look at like how it was like how that world was built.
Yeah. And I guess what were your I mean to kind of rewind a little bit, what were your guys like, what was your take, what was your initial thoughts on this movie just in general, like as a piece of cinema, and then as it's connected to this whole Godzilla franchise that has been like more recent, you know what I mean, I guess, and continuing the legacy. But like I guess you can only compare, I think, these movies to the movies in their line. You can't really compare it to the old movies because obviously they're very different time, very different I guess way that they're doing things, so
Yeah,
you
I,
can't.
I was gonna say, I would say that. So the way I like to compare movies is in different categories. First, there's the category of what the intent of the movie is. So, like, let's say I'm rating Iron Man. I would rate it as a Marvel movie, a superhero movie, and an action movie. Like Star Wars, actually, that's probably one of the best examples. One of the latest Star Wars movie that came out. Terrible Star Wars movie. Okay, or like space sci-fi movie, and good like action movie, like because they could just had like cool things going on. So like that's kind of how I like to rate things. For Godzilla versus Kong, I'd have to say, based on like the designs of the characters based on the old renditions and what they made them look like now, the storyline, like how they pulled stuff off, as a Godzilla movie, I probably give that thing like a 9 out of 10. Like that, I think that the what they did for Mecha Godzilla, they out of the park. Like the design was phenomenal. The cleverness of the idea of using the door and throwing us off with specifically Godzilla fans, like whether or not it'd be Mecha Ghidorah or like what they might do with it. The fact that they went to multiple cities, I like the fact that they actually were doing like one of the things that all I could think about is I'm like, damn, like they're just destroying downtown Tokyo. Like that was amazing.
Hong Kong, yeah.
Hong Kong, sorry,
Yeah.
Hong Kong. But it was just like so cool to see the fact that they were like doing massive damage to a city like the old movies, like because that's what it was. It was like the old movies were basically like little toys and like toy, what's it called? Cities, and they would just like destroy the crap out of it, and they did so much of that. It was like really good for that. And then I'd say for I guess like just Worlds of Monsters, I'd still like, again, probably 9 out of 10. Like it's probably 9 out of 10 across the board because even the movie itself, there'd be like a couple of things that were weird. So maybe like as an overall movie, 8 out of 10, because I still think it's weird they could trank up Kong, and some stuff like that. But like as like a Godzilla fan, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, they did stuff that's like it didn't necessarily make sense, but it was like designed to push the story forward. And it's like we don't want to have to explain all this stuff, like the technical aspects of all this. So we're not going to. Like we're not going to focus on it at all. We're just going to skip right past it. And people, I think that they took the approach that like no matter what we do, like no matter how the story goes, no matter how realistic or how like awesome we do this, like people are going to have problems with this. So we're just going to do it. Like we're just going to like put the thing out there and then let people nitpick it, because at the end of the day, like you said, I think across the board it did really well with, again, I think when you said like the intention of the movie, right, like that was key for me. It was like the intention of this movie was supposed to be like this epic monster battle, and it's like that's what it was. Like it was this epic monster battle.
And maybe that's to say, I'll say 9 out of 10 as a Godzilla movie. It's like a monster movie, 10 out of 10. Like they like nailed that. Like
yeah, it was again, the intention is perfect. Like again, to wrap up this movie is you have to put yourself in the mindset of this is obviously not reality, for first of all, because I hate when people do this. They take like a superhero movie or something like that, and it's like this is based on a comic book universe. Of course it's not real. Like of course there's going to be holes, you know what I mean? But like, so you have to take yourself out of that mentality and just put yourself in this like, I guess, mind space where you're just going to enjoy the epicness that is, and that's exactly what this movie was. Take yourself out of reality, put yourself in this world, and just enjoy what's going to happen. And I think they did that like really phenomenally. Again, the designs of everything, I think, the whole Hollow Earth thing, like I really did expect that. Like I 100% expected that we were going to see the Hollow Earth and stuff like that, but the way that they executed it was really cool. I think the whole like, kind of double landscape, like with you can just like float and turn and like you're on the opposite side, like that was super cool. What I didn't expect was this whole lineage. Like we were talking about like they were gonna have like this ancient rivalry thing, but I didn't expect, like, here's one thing that was like incredible to me. So he goes to Hollow Earth and King Kong is huge, right? He's just as big as Godzilla, but you see this like preserved like hand of a like literally like 100 times bigger than King Kong, and like that's like his ancestor, and it's like holy shit, they used to be literally like huge. Fucking huge,
when he jumped over and like he just tipped it.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was like a statue. I couldn't tell. I didn't think that was a preserved hand.
No, I think that's a Kong, bro. That's an old school Kong.
Yeah, well, like it would still make sense too. Like the doors that he goes through are massive,
huge. Yep.
The throne he looks like tiny in.
Mm-hmm.
That was all. That was the other thing too. Like I don't remember in any of the Godzilla movies that this new part, and this new part was an excellent addition. Like Kong finds where, and I actually at first I'm like, oh, like are they gonna make it like Kong was the king of the monsters back then? And like the fact that once he finds the spike of the old Godzilla, the fact that it had Godzilla circling the floor still shows he was the king of the monsters, but this rivalry is still old. Yeah. And like the fact that, dude, the broken spike was such a cool idea with the axe. Like it made it, because the fact that Kong can communicate through sign language, showing that he's at least semi-intelligent, like that made the axe make sense, which was cool. So like playing that in there was very cool. Having the fact that the spike blade axe would like absorb Godzilla's nuclear radiation, like that was such a cool, like all of that was awesome.
Yeah, I think again, the way they executed it, and that the addition of, because this is completely new. They're taking this in a new direction. And what's funny is, I think, or funny, cool, whatever, is so they actually destroyed it, like that whole like little throne room, right? Like it gets destroyed. But I don't know if you noticed, there was these like other paths that were like kind of drawn in there. And my thought is that this is like a connection point from different like various like either planets or universes or something. And like that's how Ghidorah got here in the first place, was like he came through one of those like passageways, right? Like it's like a hollow earth, but it's also like a gravitational weird connection to other planets, or it's like a Stargate essentially. And to me, it was like, basically, like, we know that, yeah, Kong is intelligent, but he didn't build all these things. He didn't build like the chamber itself. He was basically, what the feeling that I got was they were put there. Like they were placed there and like said, like, here's the order of things. Like you and Godzilla, you guys are like gonna help, maintain the ecosystem of the earth in some way, balance it out. And like all these other titans basically are just gonna like, gonna be your pets, I guess. I don't know. Like they're the animals of the earth essentially. And
Well,
Godzilla and Kong are the two
it's
most
the idea
intelligent
of, like,
ones.
we're trying to take over this planet, so we send creatures to like
Exactly.
destroy it and then take it. But yeah, it's funny. I don't think it was my brother I was talking to about this. The fact that first off, did you know that Godzilla is the oldest running movie series of all time?
That's pretty dope. I did
Yeah,
not know
like
that.
the first movie was in 1954.
Whew.
Yeah, and I looked this up too because like there's like tons of like different like side like people made like cartoons eventually of it. There's actually apparently a really cool cartoon series that the drawings are really cool. They have like it's just very space bound. It's interesting.
The one on Netflix is pretty cool. It's like a 3-parter. That was
I
pretty
wonder
cool.
if that's what it is because I think I found 3 major parts of it. Like they fought.
Yep.
The guy at work, after I said that I just watched all those, the guy at work was like looking up clips of like old King Kong movies because he wanted to show me what he thought was really funny of the ones like back in the 30s. And there was like they use like just like a toy, like an animatronic thing, and you could see the hair moving because the hands are like touching different parts of the gorilla to try to like move the character. It's just hilarious to like see.
That is funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing too. I think the first Godzilla versus King Kong was like 1963. Or I think it was 62, then 63 was the two movies where they fought because I think one wins in one, the other wins in the other. Um, but yeah, like there's like I was looking up all the old characters. I found out like what was it? There's this Godzilla versus the sea monster and Godzilla versus Smog or the Smog monster. And it's funny because that's the name that we know them as, but it turns out that was just when they were like re-shown again, compiled with other movies. Apparently, like, what is the Science Theater 3000? Is that what that's called?
Yeah.
Yeah, like they actually would show like back-to-back features, and that's what they called it. But apparently, they had names for it. I found out like Ghidorah was the Astro something. Like Ghidorah was still its name, but like it was the name of the movie was like the Astro something. It was very interesting, like looking up all this old stuff. But the fact that they have all this stuff to play from, like they have a ton of history to play from, and they still were able to add something completely new and make it epic and make it just fit was like that was definitely one of my favorite things. Like that, like they like yeah. Bravo to
What was your take on it, Greg? Because we've dominated this conversation as expected.
So I caught up on all of them, and I didn't watch them originally because the movie that turned me off from all of that was the King Kong movie with Jack Black back in like 2005 or whatever it was. That was just terrible. So like,
Which, if you don't know what he's talking about, it was basically a rehash of the old King Kong movie. So they took all that style and they tried to just really recreate it. Essentially, it's kind of like how Guillermo del Toro was in like the new Wolfman one. Like it's kind of like that. Like they try to just rehash or revamp.
I like Jack Black, and it's just that movie was very, very boring, and not like an attention span problem because I can sit through like Lord of the Rings, though that's more enjoyable. But yeah, and then I watched I think the first one I watched was I definitely didn't watch them in order.
Okay.
I watched like Godzilla vs. King Kong, and then I watched I think King of the Monsters, then Skull Island, and then Godzilla. And I'm like, this is
You went backwards, yeah.
yeah, but it all like pieced together in my head after. I was like, oh, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot Bryan Cranston was in this one. But yeah, it was really cool. And then now I understand why you were saying that Elizabeth Olsen that plays Wanda and Petra, like they were in that one. I was like, oh, okay, now I
husband and wife in that that universe.
All of those were really good, and like Skull Island made me like King Kong. I was just like, oh, this is an actual like good movie. And
right.
Those skin crawler things, those
skull crawlers,
yeah, that's crazy looking.
Yeah, they were cool as hell. They were cool as hell. So yeah, so what was your like? Okay, so in terms of Godzilla vs Kong, like what was your like feeling of like how the movie was just on its own?
uh, I didn't expect it being bad because you guys kept like hyping it. So I'm like,
All
oh,
right.
probably good. Um, so I'll give it a 2 now. It's probably a 10.
What would you rate it as a monster movie? Let's go with that.
Yeah,
Oh, that's 10. That's definitely a 10. Now that I've seen enough monster movies.
exactly. Which you know, there's a bias because essentially, like again, like you don't have like the old school fandom, like you didn't see the originals and stuff, and so I guess it's like in your favor and then against you because it's like you have nothing to compare it to really, but then you also like
I can only compare it to that terrible King Kong movie.
exactly
And
exactly.
it's definitely way better than all of those are way better. And I hope to see.
Have either of you seen Rampage?
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
funny. I've not
I
seen
like the
Rampage. That would
game.
be like another. You don't need it. But it's one of those ones where like that's probably like another monster movie to compare it to, like the in the sense.
Yeah.
Well,
New age,
That's,
newer.
that's the
Yeah.
style of movie that this.
I like The Rock, but he doesn't need to be in everything. So
Well, actually, what was great was that was actually his production company that made Rampage. So it was like literally, yeah, that was his. That's Jumanji as well. That's his production company. So
That's
yeah,
all.
yeah. There's a few movies that he's
It's
like the
funny too because
star.
like, when I heard like Jumanji was announced, I was just like, why? Like you don't need to. But it was actually a good movie. Like,
Yeah,
it was funny. It was action
I
packed.
like both of them actually. Both of them were pretty good. Like they took the humor that was in the first one and they kind of took out the I guess the real world kind of like consequence from it. And
Yeah.
it's because it's inside the video game. So there's not real world consequences, right? So it's like that made sense. But so I think they were really well done. But back to the topic in terms of Rampage, um, I just feel like there wasn't strong writing in that movie. And that's kind of that's what the flaw was. And it was like yeah, it was too centered around like The Rock. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, okay, great. He's awesome. This is his production company, but like again, this is a monster movie. Like, and in Rampage, they were eating humans. It wasn't like they're working together. Like this was like literally monsters versus humans. So
yeah,
like you
that's
kind of
just
have to stick to that.
oh, that's just like the video game though. Like you
No,
destroy.
you see, I think is that what you're trying to say
Yeah,
though? That's what the video game is, but that's not what the movie was.
exactly. The movie was like again like
I was gonna
how
say like
Godzilla was, where it's like there's a section of it that's the human side, right? And you get the storyline from the humans. But like in Rampage, it was legit. You're just trying to kill these monsters. Like they come out of nowhere. They have no relationship to any humans. It's just like they're big monsters attacking the city. Try and kill them. Like that was legit what was going on.
yeah, and it's funny too because like with the Godzilla movies, if you look up the writers on IMDb, they actually include the original Godzilla director, I forgot his name. It starts with an I. It's like Izilio or something like that. But basically, he's they include him, and it makes sense because it's not just like they use the characters. They used a lot of like the just plot line around Godzilla, like how he engages, how he interacts. Like they did a really like the boat scene was epic. Like that's for example, like the boat. There's no boat holding Kong, and if he like wiggled by breathing, that thing would be doing this. I don't care what you
Dude,
got on there.
not to mention both of them on a one boat, like a naval carrier. No.
Well, like it's so funny because like if you ever watch like those like film theories about Godzilla, like he's so big that there's no bone structure that could hold him up. He would collapse on his own weight. And then put him and Kong on the same boat, like that boat ain't holding up, like
I
it's
mean,
going down.
again, if we're talking about reality, you know
Oh
what I
no,
mean?
I know
Like,
that's why it's funny.
yeah,
It's already crazy enough that these monsters are that big, but
yeah,
then it's
yeah.
like, let's put them on a boat in the middle of the ocean. And nothing's like it was so funny because like the fact that no one was like, hey, I know Godzilla kind of lives in the water, but what if we take his arch rival and just put him in the water?
And and then again, like, did they have the helicopter option the entire time? Why didn't they just
That's
do
what I
that?
asked.
Yeah.
It's like, why didn't you just take the Eagles and drop the ring in Mount Mordor? It would have saved you a lot of time. So yeah, it's funny because like that's what it felt like. But again, I that's why I say like an 8 out of 10 for like a movie, maybe even a 7 out of 10. I'll give it a 7 out of 10 as like a normal movie if you're just viewing it from the outside.
Yeah,
Because there's some like big plot holes like that where you're like, well, no, not only that too. When they went into Hollow Earth, like, yeah, sure, I'll just put my daughter in there, or like this little kid.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
like it wasn't daughter, but yeah, it's just like
and the fact that like Godzilla just like bores into the hollow earth with like his beam, like his radiation beam, and it's like, didn't you guys go through a hole where there was gravity like being mixed up and
yeah,
like, and he just
exactly.
bypassed that entire thing?
Yeah. It's so funny too because like it was so cool when he was doing it,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden you're like, hey, what would happen if like he breaks through that gravity hole part? You know what I mean? Like, is it going to start shooting back at him? Is it going to go in an infinite loop, turn into a nuclear bomb, and destroy everything? Like, what's going to happen? Like, nothing happened. Like,
Yeah. He
Kong
just
just
made it.
jumped through.
He just made a convenient exit hole so they could
But
both
it was
be in the
funny too
same
because like
place.
if you think about it, like the whole point is Hollow Earth is so far burrowed down, it's like impossible to get to, and then Godzilla's like, somebody found my hole.
He's down there somewhere. He just starts vomiting.
And he's like, hey, what are you doing down there? He's like, hey, fuck you.
Pretty much.
But I still think I don't know if you saw what I saw in this, but like my favorite part of the movie in the sense of like comedic relief, but it's not meant to be. I don't think it is. Would be right right when they beat Mecha Godzilla. Godzilla and King Kong, or Kong at the time, right? There's no king yet. Are looking at each other, and they're just like Godzilla's like, huh? You want to fight? And Kong's like, no, put down the axe. And then Godzilla turns away, and you can like see that I know he's a monster, but you can see in his face like, oh, thank God, I'm so fucking tired.
No, yeah, legit. Because like, so it was. I think it was really cool. Like, I guess the rounds system that they had kind of going on in this movie. So you have like, he wins one, he wins another, and then like you think like, okay, like obviously Godzilla is the more powerful monster, but then who defeats the main bad guy? Again, Kong, right? So essentially, he becomes kind of the hero character in this, right? So it was interesting to have that kind of like all these different battles going on in different places, like again, like on the water in Hong Kong, having a different a different enemy that they're fighting, and they kind of start fighting together. Like all those things were really cool. But yeah, the interactions between the two of them, some of it didn't make sense because it's like, okay, so the whole playing dead thing, right? Like that just kind of didn't make any sense to me at all. I guess it made sense, but not really.
I think that it wasn't meant to be like he's dead. Because think about it,
Yeah,
later
no.
on the ground, I think it wasn't meant to play dead. It was more like just showing that I'm
You
not
won this.
fighting.
Yeah, you won this round, right? Like let's be chill, right? But like I guess the established, they haven't established, even though they went into like the Hollow Earth, they never really said like clearly like what is the relationship between them. Is it a rivalry? Is it a partnership? Like what is going on here? Because it seems like there's a partnership going on, because like if it was a rivalry, you would think he had opportunities to kill Kong like numerous times, like at least twice in that movie he could have killed him. And it's like, why is he not killing him? You know what I mean? Like, and again, there was other Mutos that he just destroyed, like he totally killed them, like he's totally fine with doing that,
Yeah,
so
it stems a lot from this would be like from the old Godzilla movies. Like it's not that they're all meant to kill each other. Like Godzilla is meant to be the alpha, which you
right,
alpha if there's many others. Like you can't kill everyone and then be like, see, I'm the best. Like
right.
so yeah, basically I think that's what it's meant to be. But yeah, the way they like go about just like if you don't know about all of that universe and you're just watching this from the outside, yeah, it doesn't do a good job at like breaking down the fact that
Nope.
they're
But
basically meant to live on the same planet, but the idea is one is king.
right, which again, I get that, but at the same time, so like King of Monsters, right? Like it's clearly established that there's an alpha line, right? But when it comes to like alphas, like in nature, if you have two alphas, one is going to kill the other one. You know what I mean? And establish I am the alpha. You know what I mean? So that there's no middle ground between that, right? And what's happening here is like they've actually left room for two alphas when that kind of doesn't make sense. Like, so again, there's small holes you can say like
Well,
it doesn't make sense, but at the same time,
I think the point was that either one of them can become the alpha, but Kong yields. Like Godzilla leaves as the alpha, like because Kong said I won't fight, that means
sure.
keep back down, right? So the whole point was that That's why the kid was like, no, Godzilla's your friend, right? Like, he's trying to work with you. Like, I don't think that that's the point of their rivalry, because then there wouldn't be a rivalry and there wouldn't be a spike in the center of the earth ripped off an old Godzilla, right? So
Right.
like I think that like it's more, I think more the point of they needed to be like, it's something that like now that it's so old, like now there's humans who developed the world, like now it would make sense that these two would work together, which is kind of cool, because the fact that that's an option later, because that's not how it ends in the old movies, right? One of them dies.
Right.
Like,